It's cold right now. It's really cold. And if you've been out in these conditions and you're trying to spot, you know that you either have to use something lower power like binos, you've got to deal with an image like this, or you're going to be schlepping around a tripod, and if you're trying to be nimble or it's like this out, that's not a lot of fun. It's always been a problem. Until now. This is the Swarovski Balance Spotting Scopes. Image stabilization in optics is not necessarily a new thing, but man, this execution by Swarovski is amazing. To show it off, we came out in the cold. It's about 15 degrees right now, and we're shooting this from 155 yards, handheld. Guys, when we say that these are the real deal, we're serious. We didn't plan on shooting this. We didn't know this product was coming. But last week we got a couple of these in the mail just to play with and send back, and immediately thought, yeah, we're not only gonna do a video, we're stocking these, we're gonna sell them. Swarovski's really done it well here. So yeah, I'm freezing. Let's go inside. We're gonna grab Zach. We've got some on the ground experience with this, and we're gonna talk about these new Swarovski Balance Spotting Scopes. Let's go check it out. Okay, so what you just saw was something that really shocked us when we got these spotting scopes in. What we've got are the Swarovski ST, the S is for straight, and AT, the A is for angled, balance spotting scopes. These are an image stabilized spotting scope from Swarovski that are put together in really one of the more practical use, field capable packages we've seen from them in a spotter. Compared to something like the ATS, which currently exists, or the STS spotters. These aren't quite the same power range, but they're really quite a bit smaller. And obviously they bring in the function of image stabilization that you haven't been able to get before. These guys are gonna sell for $39.99 and $38.49. It's a premium product, but honestly, when these came out of the box, we expected from Swarovski, these would probably be something that started with maybe a 5. So we think they've done what they can to make these prices, while certainly not cheap, less than ridiculous. The ST is a 14 by 35 by 50 product. It's a nice footprint. They're both about 10.5 inches long. This one comes in at about 46 ounces, and the AT is at about 52 ounces. It's easy to handle. You know, the straight is a smaller, very use it in field type product. Big fan of it. The AT, it's the same length. It's obviously just a little bit larger because of the angled size. This one is an 18 to 45X, so you get a little bit more power here. Both of them use a battery that is proprietary to this unit. This one, you can see here, it is rechargeable, so that's kind of nice, but it's not like you can just take an off-the-shelf battery that you find at Walmart and drop it in. The controls on these are very simple. They both have somewhere on the rear here a simple battery. From the time you press the button and hold it for a second to the time it stabilizes is 2 to 3 seconds. It's really quite quick. They both have auto off features if you stop using it. Battery life on both of them is advertised at about 12 hours. We have not tested that. We cannot confirm that. That's based totally on their specs. I think additional batteries are $89. We'll check that and put it on screen if I'm wrong. They both come with standard ARCA plates on bottom. Basic rundowns and specs. I'm gonna go grab Zach. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about some experiences that we've had in the field with these products, talk about what we really love about them, some things that you need to know that you might not expect, or maybe you need to be cautious of, you know, who we think these might be right for. All right, guys, so I've got Zach Shreve with me here. He's a mechanical engineer at Area 419. And along with being, you know, Nathan's teammate in Team Sniper matches, he's by far the most active hunter in the building. So when these came in, first thing I did, I pinged Zach, said, hey, come in here, you gotta check this out. We picked him up and we're impressed pretty quickly.
Yeah, so the form factor, the capability that you get with this type of spotter, the image stabilizing adds a lot of capability and functionality to not only the precision rifle world as shooters, but also the hunting world. You see a lot of benefit with this.
So we had these, we figured out how to turn them on in about 10 seconds. Immediately Zach grabs the straight one, and I didn't see it for like 2 weeks. You were able to spend some time with a local SWAT team spotting on our range here at ranges from 1 to 800 yards. You took it home, got to play around with some local hunting environment style wildlife. We immediately ordered the Olin, somebody can maybe tell me how to say it. The adapters that go on the rear of these that you can like magnet a phone onto. We bought those for our phones because we wanted to be able to show you guys what we're finding in them here. Initial impressions for how it spots on a range.
So the first thing that we noticed, the benefit that we got is with the image stabilizing, we were able to spot, trace, and make accurate calls in way more compromised positions. So like with a traditional spotter or binos, I'm really taking that time to set up the tripod, make sure it's fully deployed, make sure it's really secure, and then not only that, but like if you're spotting out connexes or something that's a little bit wobbly, you really gotta make sure everybody's sitting still, nobody's walking.
You're having to basically build a shooting position to spot.
Yep, so with these, we didn't have to worry about that. We could almost use our tripods like in a connex where somebody's laying prone in front of you. There's not a lot of room for, you as a spotter. So we were almost using our tripods as monopods. Also, there was times where I was just spotting on a 2x4 out of a window. And I was able to make accurate calls with that out to, 700-800 meters.
Honestly, that's the place where I expected them to be the least good because you tend to have some of your support items, your shooting bag or your tripod or all of that. But especially when you talk about being in cramped conditions, something like a Connex, these were really slick. You took them out in field. Mm-hmm. You went home for Thanksgiving, black bear hanging out in the backyard.
Yeah. So Maryland rifle season started up right after Thanksgiving, went hunting, was using them. I had the all-in adapter on there, so my wife was with me, and I was able to have my phone on there. It was a really cool, educational learning experience with that. I was able to video a black bear coming in all the way from 200 yards through the woods all the way up close to about 20. The video that I was able to get with that it looked like a professional camera. It looked like a $5,000-$6,000 professional camera on a tripod.
Yeah, so on the camera side, at Area 419, we've got nice cameras. Hopefully you're satisfied with the video quality here. We work in the Sony universe, and we have a lot of lenses and camera bodies that have in-body stabilization or in-lens stabilization. Bryce and I were blown away that we've never played with stabilization that was as good as what we saw here. And there are other companies that have done image-stabilized sighting products before. Somebody handed me a pair of Canon image-stabilized binoculars 10 years ago. And while they were comically large for being 10x binos, I was like, well, this is obviously the future. Now we've got things in market like SIG has a spotter, and we can talk a little bit more about that SIG product. We've not had that SIG product in hand, so I cannot speak to the very specifics of the optical quality or the stabilization quality. Of all of the stabilized products that we've used, the quality and the smoothness of the stabilization with these, as people that work daily with professional photography equipment and video equipment, Bryce and I were kind of shocked by these. So we think Swaro did a really good job with the form factor of these units. They're a very packable size. If you want to handhold them, they're a fine size to handhold. There is a weight penalty to stabilization. Zach looked at similar power range Vortex and Night Force products that were unstabilized, and you're paying an 8 to 10 ounce penalty for this stabilization. But then again, Swaro, we think as far as stabilization goes, did a really excellent job, and that the SIG product is, while markedly less expensive, it's an inch longer, and you're paying for the straight, which is the similar product, nearly a 10 ounce weight penalty there. So stabilization is going to come with a weight penalty, period. You have additional elements. The way that this works, and Swarovski publishes a little diagram of it, is somewhere in here, and the best we can guess, it's somewhere right here in the middle. There is a lens that is attached to a handful of motors and a gyro that is sensing the product moving, and then with those lenses is making sure with those motors, making sure that central lens stays stationary. And we could actually see, just messing around here with before, Zach has a little flashlight on his watch. It's crazy. You can look into the front of the spotter while it's on and make little micro movements, and you can see that there's a lens in there moving and dancing to keep the thing stable. The tech in here is nuts. With a 12-hour battery life, it's plausible that you're going to get into a situation where you don't have battery. The good thing about these, and this would be the case with any other stabilized product as well, if your battery dies, you still have a spotting scope. It's not a digital sight or something where your battery dies and it goes black. The optical quality is really, really great. Something that you will see on any stabilized product is your field of view relative to what the product could be is going to be marginally smaller. Again, we observed this in camera. Basically, what you have to do is crop in around the edges just a little bit so that as you are stabilizing, the artificial crop around the edge of your image is not dancing all over the place, rather staying stable, or else, you're with these, you turn them on and your image is clear and the edges are clear and everything stays in place. If you didn't have that crop, your image would be in the right place, but the edges would be doing this and going crazy. So you'd lose some of that effect. So be aware, anytime you use an image stabilized product, there is a little bit of image crop. The field of view on these was still really good, super useful. We had no complaints about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you expect whenever you buy a Swaro product. There was no disappointments whenever it came to that realm.
Yeah, some things we thought were a little worth noting or a little bit strange. You're not going to take this into the field and replace your tripod.
No, it's like an addition to. So what it gave me was speed. So traditionally speaking, hunting, you see an animal across, the valley or ridgetop, whatever. It's like, all right, I'm going to go binos. Okay, now we're going to take up the time to set the tripod up, set everything down, get comfy for a while. This, I can go from binos, okay, cool, that's a bull or whatever I'm looking for. I can handheld this, make an identification really quickly of, okay, this is a legal bull or this is something we want to go after without having to set my tripod up. Now, if we're going to sit there and get comfy and do some spotting, I'm still going to set my tripod up because I'm never going to hold this for 6, 7, 8 hours.
Right. Right, this thing weighs like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
You're not doing this for a day.
Exactly. So it's an addition to. Also with that tripod is I can turn that off to save battery, like you said, or in really windy conditions, I'm going to leave that image stabilizing on, and then it's going to just not give me that headache because you run a big, 65 power spotter and it's 20-mile-an-hour winds. It's almost unusable.
Yeah. One of the things that we discussed on this is precision rifle people, we think everything should have a reticle. All things should have reticles. But one of the oddities that we notice about the image stabilized products, when we would put them in a tripod and you try to make those fine adjustments that you might try to make if you're using a reticle, you're trying to measure an animal, measure a plate, whatever it is. These aren't necessarily hyper responsive to fine movements. What the spotting scope is trying to do is it's guessing what you're trying to aim at, and then it wants to keep you there. So if you've got a reticle in this thing and you're trying to move it, what in a gyro sense is a really small amount, you're trying to move it a 0.5 mil here and there, it's actually going to resist that movement a little bit. And that was something that took a little bit of playing with. You put it in a ball head or something and you try to lock it down and then make these little fine adjustments. And there's a little bit of learning to finesse this thing in those micro adjustments. In all practicality, it's never going to be a problem. But if you had a reticle in it, I understand why they didn't do it. First of all, it probably shrinks their addressable market. But putting a reticle in it and then using it with the image stabilization is probably going to be a great way to drive yourself nuts. So we understand why they didn't do it. Maybe we're wrong in that, but with our basic understanding of how the optical system is working here, I totally buy it. Plus they're variable, so you're then looking like a first focal plane reticle. It would add some complexity to this, and we understand why they didn't. It's not cheap. Nothing in this green optical color tends to be cheap, but again, we think they did a fine job with value. Any other quirks? Proprietary battery?
Yeah, that was a little, I wouldn't say off-putting, but it is definitely something you're going to have to consider. I think I saw the price sheet on them, and it's Swaro. It's not cheap.
I said 90 earlier, looked at my spec sheet. That cost $100 at retail.
Yeah.
So, you would think that this battery should last quite a long time. But if you need a backup, it's not like you're buying an 18650, which is similar form factor, but 18650s or even like the smaller 18500 that's less common. There is some cost to these, as well as the proprietary charger. Don't lose your charger. If we've got a knock, that's probably the thing here.
Yeah, and outside of the cost with that, the convenience of it being a proprietary battery is a little, not the most ideal situation. Go on a hunting trip, you lose a battery, you forget to pack it, and you're in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. Like, you're not going to find one of these.
Yeah, this is not. This is not at your local sporting goods store. Even like a Swarovski authorized dealer, the odds of you finding one of these is going to be fairly limited. So brass tacks, the two decisions that Zach and I need to make, given our respective roles and what we do, I have to make the decision, is this worth us stocking and carrying? Is it something that our customers are going to benefit from and want enough that we make the investment to carry them? I checked yes. I think that this takes a spotter and makes it meaningfully more practical for the use of most of our customer base. With the stabilization, spotters may well be all the way back. Would this make it into your pack? Could you ever see yourself being a customer for one of these? If so, which one? What's your call here?
Yeah, I definitely think if I would spend my own hard-earned money on this. The reason why is spotters are always a really borderline object of whether I'm going to take that or not. To make it a difference enough from my 15s, it has to give me some significant advantage. You know, a BTX and a STX, ATX, like that's a big item.
Yeah.
So it better be worth it for
Right.
for what I'm taking. So like this, because of the image stabilizing, it's considerably smaller and lighter than that, it does add a lot of value in my pack for hunting.
With one of these, could you leave your binos out?
I would never leave my binos out because I like having the access on my chest for them, but it would make me want to take a smaller, lighter pair, where before I was taking 10s and 15s.
So you can drop the 15s.
Yeah, I would drop the 15s, I would take this, and then like my binos I take EL ranges, so I have the rangefinder built into those. They would never replace binos because that's a very different but similar use case for them.
So guys, these are the Swaro ST for straight and AT for angled balance spotters. They're new. You're going to start seeing them in retailers now. We're going to have them. We'll stock them the best we can. We don't know what supply is actually going to look like on these long term, but we're going to do what we can to have them around. If you like them, pick some up. If you got questions, drop them in the comments. Let us know what we missed. But these are really cool. Until next time.